Successor divine of Joseph the Great Hesychist, cohabitant of noetic prayer and watchfulness, O ascetic angel-like, Philotheou's Abbot and guardian, America's enlightener Ephraim, we honor thee as our fervent advocate. Cease not for us, beseeching, thou boast of all Athenites, and divine apostle of all the ends of America, O spirit-bearing Ephraim, that Christ may send down upon us from the heavens strengthening might and encouragement. On humility and love, a homily delivered by Elder Ephraim as Abbot at Philotheou on December 5th, 1975. There was a virgin nun that went to Abbot Pombo for advice. She told him she fasted 7 days a week and that she knew the Old and New Testaments by heart. She then asked him what he suggested for her to do in order to perfect herself. Abbot Pombo looked at her oddly and said, "My child, when someone compliments you and glorifies you, do you feel as if someone is insulting you and cursing you?" "No." "Then go. You have nothing to learn from me. Go and learn humility by enduring tribulations and suffering of the heart. Then come back to me, and I will tell you how to become a spiritual person." Abbot Pimon once went to a clairvoyant Yerunda for advice. The Yerunda, seeing Abbot Pimon's great humility, put him to the test. He asked him, "Did you see that idol there along the way?" "Yes." "Go and curse that statue and throw things at it and come back to me." And Abbot Pimon did so. Having returned, the Yerunda asked Pimon to go again and praise and honor the idol and return to him again. Abbot Pimon followed the Yerunda's instructions. The Yerunda asked him, "Did the statue answer back to you by any chance when you cursed it or praised it?" "No." "That is the state you should and will attain to." And this is exactly what happened. Some time later, the same Yerunda said to Abbot Pimon, "Pimon, Pimon, shepherd of angels, your name will be spoken in all the land of Egypt." In the Catechism of the Tantra and into the Great Schema, the priest catechizes the monk to be prepared to suffer hunger, thirst, pain, tribulation, persecution, and so many other things. This is what manifests and characterizes the Christ-like way of life. You are expected to endure many difficulties in becoming a spiritual person. And if you do not endure, you fail in your goal of monasticism. The example of our Christ, who endured insults, beatings, and death on the cross, is most radiant. We must hold him as the example to which we must aspire. He did not sin, but went through all of this as if he were a sinner, as one of us. If we do not endure, we will never make spiritual progress. For many and diverse reasons, the Yerunda is compelled out of duty, and also for the benefit of his disciple, to humble him and put him through trials and tribulations for his own good. A father would never make his son go through tribulations if they were not for his own good. Just think about the spiritual father who cares for the salvation of his spiritual son. It is a great responsibility before the Lord to put his spiritual son through trials for his success. A spiritual father would never put his spiritual son under a passionate mandate, but only a purely spiritual one. The monk who struggles will reach this holy humility, but through the Yerunda he can reach it faster. When one decides to go somewhere, he searches for a guide, and when he finds him, he puts his trusts in him. Otherwise, he will not be able to follow him. It is the same with the relationship between a Yerunda and his disciple. If there is a lack of trust in the Yerunda, the disciple will have difficulty reaching humility. A disciple is not only asked to endure his Yerunda, but also if he lives with others, he must endure his brothers too, because trials will be more prevalent in a large brotherhood. He must endure without rebuttal and anger. This patience and endurance will be beneficial for the brother who endures and for the one who became the cause of the temptation. But if the struggler does not endure the torment which a brother might cause, he fails in acquiring the spiritual benefit from that temptation. Satan, knowing that he cannot directly attack a monk who lives with others, takes advantage of the weaknesses of the other members of the brotherhood. And when we see a brother who is spiritually weaker, we must endure him without complaining or getting angry. Indeed, in this way we fulfill the commandments of the Lord. The cause of these temptations is due to egotism. Throughout the spiritual warfare, we must constantly insult and degrade ourselves as the worst of all the people, believing that there is no one worse than us. We must believe that we are the most unworthy of all, incapable of anything, and that we are nothing. We must not allow thoughts of pride and vainglory. And when we see such thoughts come, we must immediately humble ourselves by taking the examples of the saints and how they struggled to acquire God's grace. Many of the younger fathers asked Abbot Ephraim how the older fathers were able to reach such heights of humility in their monastic struggles. The saint answered that those fathers had love amongst themselves and overcame their difficulties. That is how they reached those heights. They had unconditional love for one another. Unlike us, we do not have love. That is why we cannot endure each other's weaknesses. And this is the revealing truth. If one has real love, he'll do everything to make life easier for his brother by sacrificing himself. This is how we find God. When one approaches love, he approaches God. Is not God's patience a sign of unconditional and indescribable love? We cannot even endure our brothers. We immediately complain and rage against our brother. Some even curse God in the worst way because of this. God revealed to St. Andrew the Fool for Christ how people sinned, both intentionally and out of ignorance. "How great is your patience, O Lord," he marveled. "Why don't you just make the final judgment come immediately so we could clear up this tremendous problem we have?" Andrew, having just seen a tiny amount of what I endure, God said to him, "You immediately ran out of patience and asked that I end everything and begin the judgment. I endure all this in every detail, and you lost patience. I am cursed endlessly by my creations, and you lose patience. That is why we must, above all, fulfill the first and great law of God, love. Harmonious, spiritual, fraternal love. And when there is this spiritual unity of the heart, then we can endure each other. Let there be no ignorance and bitterness among us. If these are our possessions, we should not be surprised that we have the demons as companions. This is unacceptable. We must beg God to give us a spirit of divine eros, the love of God. And when a part of the body suffers, the whole body suffers, especially the heart. Well, this is the same in a brotherhood. If we do not love each other, this will cause the brotherhood suffering, especially the Yerunda, who is the heart of the brotherhood. We must care for one another. If we have this glorious love, then we can endure our weaknesses. And Satan never rests, and he always seeks to take advantage of an opportunity. If there is a spiritually stronger brother, he must endure with silence and patience any unnecessary comment, if not an outright insult of another brother. When we submit to temptations, Satan leaps and dances for joy, laughing at Christ, claiming that those who have been consecrated to him do not love him. In this way, God's name is cursed and blasphemed through us. In the sayings of the Desert Fathers, there is a Yerunda traveling with his disciples somewhere, being led by one of the brothers. The Yerunda noticed that the brother had lost his way and was leading them astray. Yerunda decided to let him know about this without scandalizing him, and at the same time give him a lesson to his other disciples. He announced to the brother that he was tired, as an excuse to get him to stop traveling. That night the brother realized he had made a mistake and asked forgiveness from the Yerunda and from his brothers. He made a prostration to them and asked their forgiveness and also asked the right way to go. Here is an example of love. The Yerunda could have made the observation to the brother and could have disappointed him, but he did not. The fathers, at all costs, would never scandalize or disappoint someone. They were very careful with this issue, not to disappoint one another. They believed that if they disappointed anyone, they disappointed Christ. Just like this Yerunda, he acted with the love of God. In a Cenobitic monastery, there was a brother who was sinning, and he was not fulfilling his monastic duties. Someone in that monastery complained that this monk should be thrown out of the cenobium, and so the Yerunda complied. The brother was weeping in the desert when other monks who were on their way to Abbot came upon him, and so they took him along to Abbot. And when the monks met Abbot, they informed him about this brother. Saint Pimon decided to write to the Yerunda of that monk, asking if the Yerunda didn't still have even a trace of his own sinful self, or if perhaps he had reached the great virtue of dispassion. Of course, the Yerunda admitted to still partaking of his old sinful self, and that he was still struggling to renew himself in Christ. St. Pimon then ordered him to receive the monk back, since the Yerunda was not in any position to throw him out in the first place. I'll give you another example to show you how love is like a mother who covers her children and their weaknesses. Abbot Arsenios of Paros, an Athonite, founded 2 holy monasteries, one for nuns and one for monks. In the convent there was a kathilokon dedicated to St. George. A sister from that monastery had lived in the world in a state of spiritual illness prior to her decision to enter monasticism with the hope of approaching God and turning her life around. She begged the sisters and the Eurondissa to receive her, but they refused her on account of her sinfulness. When she heard this, she decided to go down to the sea to drown herself. On her way there, by God's providence, she encountered St. Arsenios on his donkey. Immediately he asked her what had happened. Having listened, he ordered her to go back. Since Venerable Arsenios was the spiritual father of the monastery, he promised her that she would be allowed to enter the monastery and that he would correct the nuns there. He gave those nuns such a strict penance that they did not commune for several years. Having left the monastery, he became so disappointed that he wanted to abandon those nuns as their spiritual father. On his way back from the monastery, he met a young man who happened to be St. George, who asked what happened to him. St. George reminded him that he should have patience and endure the weaknesses of the nuns. He showed St. Arsenios that on his left stood a legion of demons, and on his right, a legion of radiant angels. And St. George told him that if he did not go back to the nuns to discipline them and endure their weaknesses, he would be condemned along with the demons eternally. Then he immediately realized to whom he was talking. See how much we must endure each other. It is a commandment of God to carry the weight of one another. This is how God is satisfied. This is how He is. God has no limits to His patience. Therefore, we should have limitless patience too. A father found a layman carrying a corpse on his back. The father asked him what he was doing. Having received the layman's answer, the father then told him that he should go learn instead how to carry those who are spiritually dead, that is, those who are full of passions. Didn't you hear a trapeza of a Yerunda who was begging the Lord to grant eternal life to all his spiritual children? But God, wanting to show him that his disciples were not living accordingly, revealed the following to him. The Yerunda and his disciples had decided to go to another monastery's feast day. And along the way, the Yerunda kept a distance behind his disciples. The disciples found an old man who was physically unable to go to the monastery's feast, but they did not help him to go. The Yerunda, who found the old man later, lifted him upon his back to carry him despite his own old age. The Yerunda started realizing that the old man was getting lighter and lighter. Then the man, who was an angel of God, told him, "Now, do you see? Your disciples did not even try to pick me up, as you yourself did, Abba. Now, stop begging the Lord to let them in paradise, because they do not live their lives in accordance with yours." Immediately, the holy angel flew up to heaven, and the Yerunda learned his lesson. We must have that kind of love toward one another. We must sacrifice ourselves for our brothers. But if we cannot do this, then we cannot love one another, let alone one's own self. If we have this love, then we resemble our blessed fathers in their virtue of love. We see Abbot Macarius, who heard an old man on the street begging for bread. St. Macarius sacrificed his own time, prayer, and his money to go buy some fresh bread for this person. With this love we must help our brothers, with this love and with our toil, and by doing this the Lord is truly satisfied. Once there was a group of monks who were working together, and one of them became sick. Immediately the other brothers promised the sick monk that they would work for his share as well. The sick monk refused to receive his share, so the other brothers brought him to the abbot of the skeet and told him of this matter. And after the whole brotherhood implored him, the sick brother also received the blessing of his share, weeping. This is how we must be too. But as for ourselves, when a brother asks for help, we bluntly deny helping him, claiming that we're too busy with our own work. This is a sign of following our own will. If we are real monks, we must cut off our will in helping each other. This is a bad sign of self-love, and that we're incapable of sacrificing ourselves for one another. Amen.